Hello viewers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're reviewing the 2020 Nissan Np300 Hardbody. Before we get deeper into the video, I'd like to take a moment to thank my buddy Daniel for the great video intro that he made. Check out his Instagram account via the link in the description. This Nissan Np300 and other great cars are available for sale at AKAGERA Motors Rwanda. Check out their website through the link in the description. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact them. You may look at this car and say, wait, there's no way this is a car from 2020. And you wouldn't be totally wrong because this design is from 2006. This car was originally introduced in 2006 as the facelift version of the generation from that era. Since then, Nissan continued building these as a cheaper alternative to their newer trucks. To Nissan, this car remains a simple and reliable working tool with an unbeatable four-wheel drive system. And Nissan has a reputation to build some of the best four-wheel drive systems in the industry. Also note that in some markets, this car is known as the Nissan Navara or the Nissan Frontier. Without further ado, here's the car's key with the remote lock and unlock buttons on the front and a Nissan logo on the back. As we take a look around the vehicle, you'll notice that this car is really starting to show its age. A facelift of its own is very much needed to make it more compelling against the competition. Inside on the driver door panel, there is storage on the lower half and the usual power mirror and power window controls on the upper half. Starting this vehicle is as simple as inserting a key and turning just like any other car. With the engine running, let's turn on the headlights, fog lights, high beams, as well as the hazard lights and take another quick look around the vehicle. There are power windows in this car, but only the driver's side is one-touch automatic. I will also go ahead and pop the hood so that we can check out the engine bay. There are turn signals on the front fenders like most trucks, and this one has an old school analog antenna on this black piece between the windshield and the hood. Up front we have halogen everything, halogen headlights, parking lights, turn signals, high beams, as well as the fog lights. Under the hood of the Np300 sits a turbocharged 2.5-liter inline four-cylinder that produces 133 horsepower and 224 pound-feet of torque. Around the back we have more halogen lights, halogen tail lights, turn signals, reverse lights, and the two rear bumper mounted lights for the license plate are halogen as well. Moving back inside, on the driver's seat we have a lever that controls the recline angle and another lever that moves it forward and backwards. The radio situation in this car is old school as well, and on top we have 3 buttons for the CD, AM and FM. To the far right we have a CD eject button, and on the other side we have a mute button. Below the mute button there's a power button, and on the other side is the menu button. There are 3 menu options in this car. First is the speed sensitive volume, and this will adjust the volume of the radio depending on the speed of the car. Next is the clock, and from here you can turn on or off the clock displayed on the radio or adjust the time on the clock. Finally, there's the beep menu. This menu allows you to turn on or off the beep. What's strange though is that I've not heard a single beep for all the time I've used this radio. There are 2 buttons for the sync track function, and there are 2 more buttons for the tune function on the other side of the radio. The button labeled with a music note is used to adjust the bass, treble, fade, and balance. Below that there are repeat and random functions. There are also buttons for the 6 preset stations around the volume knob. Moving away from the radio, we have 2 climate vents in the middle with a single scroll wheel to block the airflow. There is also the hazard light switch and a blank switch next to that. Next, on the climate controls, we have a slider that adjusts the fan speed. Next to that is the AC button, and above that is the slider for the air circulation. On the right side we have a slider for the temperature and the air direction above that. Below the climate controls we have a 12-volt power outlet. Next up we move on to the gear levers, and I say levers because there are two. One is for the usual transmission, which is a 5-speed manual transmission, and the other one is for the 4-wheel drive system with the low transfer case. Next there's the usual parking brake in the middle and 4 blank switches around that, which is weird because I don't think there's an NP300 with actual working buttons there, or maybe they are meant to be used with auxiliary accessories like light bars. In the center below the armrest we have a 2-tier storage area, with the first tier being 2 cup holders and the second one is a very decent storage area. Next, behind the steering wheel on the right side we have a very minimal windshield wiper control stock with 3 different operating speeds. Next, in the instrument cluster we have 4 different gauges and a tiny screen that displays the odometer and trip information, and a clock. What's weird though is that the clock in the instrument cluster is not linked to the clock in the radio. The button in the instrument cluster adjusts the clock by turning it clockwise and anti-clockwise. You can also push it to switch between the odometer and trip A and B. Next we have the power mirror controls, and there is nothing unusual. Select the desired mirror and move the joystick in any direction to make the adjustments. To the left of the steering column we have a button marked heat. When you turn this on, it makes the engine idle at higher RPMs, which helps the engine warm up faster in extreme cold conditions. Next up on the headliner we have 2 individual dome lights. There is a sun visor for each individual seat on the first row. The sun visor on the passenger side has a vanity mirror, while the sun visor on the driver side has operating instructions for the low transfer case. Moving on to the second row in this car, there's nothing particularly interesting here. And from my personal experience, knee room back here is not great, especially for adults. Back here we have this small window that manually slides out of the way like in most trucks. And on the ceiling we have the usual reading lights / dome lights. Also, like most trucks, we have storage area behind the second row bench, and in this one, to access the storage area, you pull that loop and fold the seat forward. And back here is where we have the jack and the rest of the tire changing equipment in this truck. Once you're done, you just push the seat back into position. Around the back, access to the cargo bed is very simple. Just pull on the handle below the Nissan logo. With the turbo 4-cylinder, you can carry 900 kilograms or around 2,000 pounds in the cargo bed of this car. I've also noticed that the tailgate in this car is a bit heavy. Underneath the vehicle is where you find the full-size spare tire. And the tire size on this car is 245 by 70 with 16-inch alloy wheels. Moving on to the front passenger seat, we'll find the glove box, and inside the glove box is the user manual. You'll notice that on the manual it's written D22 series even though it's in French, and that's because this generation is called the D22 in some markets. That's all for today's video, and thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and share with your friends. Also subscribe because I have more great car reviews coming. See you in the next one.